Yeah, man. Yeah,
So I really appreciate you joining me today, Ben.
of
And
course. No, thanks
it's
for having me.
yeah, just to kind of introduce the topic and kind of yourself and let you go from there. This is the podcast I've started. My name is Nick Beauchesne, hosting this podcast of Not Just Basketball, where people in the Maine community at this point are getting together and having conversations around what lessons and values we've gotten from basketball and kind of what we can do with those here going forward in this uncertain environment.
Hmm.
And guest today is Ben Teer. You may know him from Teer Training Academy and his presence in the community and the state of Maine as a force and a real resource for kids of all ages to get better at the game of basketball. Ben has been grinding away here for 5 years since you opened up the company.
Yes. Yep, 2015.
Can you tell me a little bit about what Teer Training does and what you're about?
Yeah, I do uh, anything from private to small group to large group trainings. Summer camps. Recently, I've just opened up different academy locations to where, it was really cool. I was just getting too booked up with private and small group training, so I put together this really cool idea of getting 20 to 30 kids every single week into different locations around the state, and just giving them progressive personalized drills.
Mm.
I've partnered up with an app called Famer, and they allow me to have like one-to-one personalization access to the trainees. And so even after the academy classes, they can send me drills. I can send them workouts to increase what we did at the academy classes. So I have that as well. And then, the big thing that I'm actually doing in your backyard again this summer is my top 30 camp, where I bring the top 30 undergrads and upper grads in Maine together on the boys and girls sides. And it's the best talent in the state. And for a weekend, we grind, we get better. We bring trainers and coaches and media members in, and just something for the kids, man. So a little bit of everything, but that's kind of what Teer Training does.
How long you been doing that top 30?
This would be my second year. So last year was kind of an idea. I didn't see anything in Maine for the kids. Obviously there's the NBR All-Star Game, and there's little things like that, but there's nothing where kids can have something to call their own, where Maine kids can be proud of. And for a weekend, the best of the best can come together. They can compete. We can get college coaches in there. They can get recruited, and just start to build something up like that. I didn't see anything like that. I always saw kids going out of the state for something like that. So last year, I decided to try it out. The kids got, we brought in, a couple NBA trainers in. We had about 20 different college coaches coming in there, and then they got free gear. We got customized jerseys. We had media members there, so they got shouted out and created highlight videos of them. It was kind of like they were at an all-American camp, but for the state of Maine. So it was really cool. And then this year, it's going to be even better, because that first year kind of like I needed to prove that it was something of worth, and so now we're getting the top of the top in there, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
That's great that you've put something together that provides that showcase for these kids.
That's it. Yeah, that's the word. Mm-hmm.
And there's something about being able to be rewarded for your hard work with that showcase and that opportunity to make that elite invitation. And I think that's really awesome and creative that you were able to bring that out of what you've been doing with this individual and small group training.
Right.
Do you see opportunities here going forward with your academy to branch out your ideas more? Is that
to like what do you think, to different places, different states,
or just different? Maybe, but different regions within the state. You were saying how your workload was getting too much to do on your own. So it sounds like you've made some good partnerships in local communities, and then by doing that, you've been able to expand your reach, right?
Right. Yeah. So right now, before this whole thing happened, I was in Aroostook County. I was in Waterville. Was beginning to start up Portland and Bangor, and then was in Dover Foxcroft. So, and I was trying to get into Rockland as well, but that never fell through. But those were the 5 locations, that I felt I was in. I had a good reach. I was overbooked in, and then was kind of, had a great just positioning where, in a 60-mile radius, there were several other big towns and stuff like that. So, I think definitely the thing moving forward is to continue these partnerships, Lord willing, because it's hard, man. Like, it's tough. It's a lot of these gyms. I mean, there's not many gyms in Maine for just public access. We're not like a New York or a California where we can, where we get all these recs and YMCAs and stuff like that. And then we're not like California with the weather where we can just go outside all the time. So these gyms, man, they're really, really, hard to partner with. The terms are constantly changing. The times are switching up. I mean, it's tough, man. So Lord willing, if I can, that's the goal, to get all these different locations. Before this whole pandemic, they were packed out. We were getting close to 30 every week in Waterville, close to 20 every week in, Aroostook County of all places. I mean, there's a need for this type of training, and yeah, man, I just hope to continue to bring value, because for me, it's just doing it the right way. You know what I mean? Not just doing it, but making sure that the product is as good as it can get, and the kids are taken care of, and it's personalized, and they actually feel like they're progressing there. I really, really try to not just do something just to get kids in, give them the same drills they can find online, or that they can honestly, and hopefully saying like this, not get anywhere else, but give them a personalized approach to it. So that's my main thing behind everything I do, is personalized and progressive.
I really like those keywords and those concepts of making it about the individual, and giving them not just one crack at the egg, but like a developmental ladder that you can put together to help them get beyond what they may have even thought they were capable of. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea.
Yeah. And through that, what sort of ways have you adjusted in this new climate? Because I think one of the things that, even just from an outside perspective, it's really clear that you've been able to continue connecting with people and sharing your knowledge. How you been doing that? You were talking about Famer too.
Yeah. Well, that's just recent, with Famer and my virtual training. That's something I'm actually starting today. My first virtual session is today. Okay. But honestly, as crazy as it sounds, at the beginning, I wanted to just do as much as I could for the kids. And I know it sounds very cliche, but I didn't try to, put together anything online and charge. I didn't do any Zoom sessions. I just hosted free workouts for 20 minutes from Monday through Saturday, every night at 8 p.m. And I mean, at the beginning, for the first 2 months, we had over 100 people on there. And then it fizzled out. I think more things started opening up, more trainers and more stuff started happening. But at the beginning, man, it was just, how can we keep the kids motivated? How can you be in some type of, not inspiration is the word, but how can you just help them out? And then, once I felt like I was able to put something together that was worth it, that I thought was, worthy of me asking for money, then I was going to let the kids be able to do it themselves. Mm-hmm. And so as crazy as it sounds, my wife and I were, we've saved up. We plan for things like this. We have a nest egg, and for me, man, I'm never home. So it just gave me time to be with my family, to get creative. Yeah. I had things like my gear launched. Those were things that were already planned during this time. So I still went along with that, and just honestly, dude, just kind of was like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I'm gonna obviously continue to try and stay in touch with the athletes I work with, but I've never been someone that kind of reaches out to athletes to try and push them. I feel like, you need to have that self-motivation. If I have to continuously reach out to you and push you and, make sure that you're doing workouts and be on you. Like, we're probably not going to work together anyway, because a lot of the kids that I have, they're very self-driven. They're hungry, they're passionate, they want to get better. And so, I know that's a little bit of an all over answer, but that was just my whole mindset through all of that, honestly.
We're all about the all over answers here.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you them.
There's something about basketball and like the sound of a ball dribbling, or the sight of a court, or just holding the ball in your hands. It's innately inspirational, and it's also a magnet, right? Like you're talking about this hunger for kids to get better. There's also this hunger just to play too, and get the joy of the game that everybody who's picked up the ball has felt, whether they're.
I think, that's what it came down to at the beginning, was just a love for basketball. That's why I just did free workouts and just tried to put inspiration out there. I mean, if you followed me on social media the first month and a half, I mean, everything was just, hey guys, here's a free workout. Hey, jump on at 8 p.m. for free. Just for love of the game, because it's, as an adult, it's like, what do you want as a kid? You're lost. Your whole entire, schedule is thrown off. Your world is not the same. Some of these seniors aren't graduating. What would you be going through if this was you right now? And then now you have someone coming and saying, hey, give me money, do some training. It's like, I just felt that was very, would be very selfish from me. And so it's not, hey, don't worry about me. I need to worry about you. Let's get you better. Let's keep you engaged. If you want, of course. And just how can I help? And from that standpoint, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. That sort of like, opportunity as one of the elite trainers in this region, Northeast here, you have that outreach and you have these opportunities to expand your company and your brand. But I think it's really awesome that you bring up, and it's clear that the game and sharing is what like the real core of this is about.
That's what it's. No, you're 100% right. I think even from the beginning, my business was built on, if you take care of other people first, you'll be taken care of. And I think that's so true in everything.
Absolutely. Now, with our experience and abilities through playing basketball and through coaching to make people better and to help people realize their potential if they're willing to tap into everything required to get there. Now, what sort of role do you see as a community member here, as a Mainer, or as a member of this Maine basketball community that reaches to not just basketball players, but a bunch of individuals throughout this state? Like, how do you parlay that leadership and that network that you've established to reach out to people? And that's tough. And that's all I meant to say.
Yeah, no, that's tough. And so you're saying that just how to inspire them or how to help them through this time?
So any sort of combination of the two and whatever's in between them in terms of just providing outlets and enrichment activities and opportunities to connect here that has been taken away from a lot of kids. Now, as we're pushing our way out of this, what sort of ways can we reestablish those lines of connection and those opportunities to like get better and find joy?
Wow. No, that's a great question. I haven't really thought of what's next. But I think what could happen and what should happen is more trainers and coaches like what you're doing right now should come together. And I've seen there are some trainers that has started doing that. And it's because it should be about the kids first and foremost. And a lot of opportunities are taken away. From an AAU standpoint, you're looking at potentially just July. And for some of these juniors to be, incoming seniors, this was one of maybe the most important summers for them. So, and that's, just not making it to me, but for myself, I have such a huge following on social media. I've been pushing film and athletes, usernames and stuff like that to college coaches. for just to give them another option, just to be able to maybe open up the door. But I think what should happen is many trainers and coaches should come together. And this might be a conversation for another time, but Maine is very not behind in that aspect, but a lot of coaches and trainers in Maine go their own way. And it's very competitive here. I think it's such a smaller area that we kind of naturally more compete than come together. But I think for the kids, we should come together. We should, I think each trainer and coach are getting creative, but I think, like you're saying, we need to come together. We need to talk about what we can put up for clinics and camps and opportunities, man, to help these kids. I think the top 30 thing is the start for myself to do something, because I've talked to several AAU directors and coaches, and a lot of these kids for AAU, they're not getting the recruitment that they need. So, now you have a camp that's designated at the end of the summer. It should be well out of restrictions, and it should be okay with only 60 kids in a gym. So yeah, cross fingers. So it's getting, I've been in contact with these AAU directors and coaches that maybe this could be the perfect opportunity to get coaches there. It's in the Lewiston Armory, as you're probably aware of. So it's a huge space that people can. Okay, perfect.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's a huge space that people can be spread out. And so, I think those are my two answers for coming together as a collective, but then also what am I doing to kind of push the narrative and not just, talk the talk, but walk the walk.
Yeah. In the root of all that is this like combination of collaboration and communication, right? Whether or not you and me are on the same basketball court working with kids in 2 weeks, this conversation expands the connection. We now have another connection, but also there may be things that come up in these types of conversations that create ideas. And
exactly.
It's really important. You said it earlier, that opportunity to be creative here is crucial, and also a tool that can be taught too.
Yes.
And I'm really, as much as there's all this hesitation of what's next, there's also this sense of like excitement and opportunity to get back at it.
The glass is half full or half empty, depending on how you look at it. But it all comes down to the love of the game too. I really think if you love this game, you'll put any pride, any, natural competitiveness aside and realize that, man, this is bigger, than just my business, your kids, your success, your athlete's success. And this is about not just maybe even Maine basketball, but just basketball, the sport, life in general. So I'm with you, man. I agree.
Why do you love this game so much?
Wow. That's a huge question that runs so deep. I started playing when I was 3 years old, and just naturally from then there was a different connection to the game where it wasn't just any other sport. It was like my peace. It was my, happiness. It was my sanctuary. And you hear that stuff a lot, and from different people, but I was, there's been nothing like basketball for me. It was, it's given me so much. It's not just something where I feel like I've taken from it. It's something that's in return given me, it's helped me make a living right now. It's helped me meet so many incredible people. The game of basketball has helped me meet my wife. I wouldn't have a family if I didn't go to Lee Academy that 1 year, and literally just 1 year where I met my wife, and that's all from chasing this game of basketball. But from like a deeper standpoint, man, basketball I feel like there's so many like entanglements from life and this being a sport. Life is up and down. Basketball is up and down. Basketball gives you so many life lessons. So and there's always something to chase, I feel like, with basketball. You never figure it out. And there's this like mystery to it of what can you continue to push? What can you continue to create? What can you continue to do with it, man? So all in all, it was my first love. There has to be some type of love. When in high school, I would wake up at 5 a.m. not go to bed until 9 p.m. And, I'm just in the gym all day, just doing different things.
Breathing basketball.
Yeah. It's just everything to me, and to keep it 100%, like just real, as crazy as this sounds, when I first got married, one of the hardest things was, being able to kind of push basketball second, because all my life it was number one. It was the thing that helped me get away from drama, from pain, from anger, from sadness, from loss. And then obviously when you're married, and it sounds crazy when I say it out loud, but it's just, I was so drawn to it, and it was always there for me, that now it's like, that's got to go. That was one of the hardest things, was to put it second, and to realize that there's other things now moving forward. You're becoming an adult. There's new things that come first. So if that gives you any idea, that's how much basketball means to me.
That just created a lot of memories for me, my trajectory as a basketball player, hearing you talk about your journey and how basketball weaves throughout it. You were talking about how it gave to you as much as you took from it, right?
Yeah.
And basketball being this gift. And
yes.
One of the great things about it, in terms of just extending your metaphor, putting aside, is it's something that you can always come back to. And basketball's right there. And then you open it up, and then it brings back all these things. Now, how do you see this process of basketball giving to you, and now you giving it back? Do you see how there's like this almost extension of the bridge where you pass it along now? And how do you feel about that opportunity?
I think it just comes down to how you've treated it. It's just like a person to me, as crazy as it sounds, where, if you just constantly use people, eventually I feel like some type of energy is going to disconnect and things aren't going to work out. But I feel like, from everything, and we've talked about this several times, but from everything, my standpoint from basketball is in just such a love, passionate, and pure place. I'm not trying to use it. I'm not trying to, take just everything from it and not give anything in return. And so I've seen from an early age how it's such a, you give to it, it gives back to you. And as if you give more, it gives just as much back to you. I've never seen anything so real and so honest and so, fair, as much as that sounds, that as long as you continue to give to it, it's going to give to you. And I see that now. And so I pour that same belief system into the kids that I work with, and help them understand that this game is pure. This game is beautiful. It's such an amazing, amazing sport. And that if you in a right way, if you work and if you give yourself to it, it will always return the favor to you. So I think that's the mindset going into it still today. It's all about where you come from with it.
It's like you can sign up for the course of Character 101 in basketball and ride it all the way through to your doctorate, and still not know 20% of what the game can give you, type of thing.
That's what's so amazing about it. Like I'm at a point where, like, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm not even close to the trainer I was last year. I was like, can I learn more? And then a week later, it's like, man, it's just, you always pick up new things and learn from other people. And it's just so cool, man. It's such a really beautiful game, honestly.
And with its beauty, basketball also, when you're talking about the truth of it, it can be brutally honest. And it can sometimes seem unfair, where there are people who pour what they feel is everything into something, and then this opportunity isn't seized or isn't given them. And basketball can create this tremendous sense of like loss and letdown because of how much you put into it. Now, how do you train people to be able to not just pour everything into it, but to be able to deal with an empty glass that wasn't rewarded sometimes? Because I'm thinking of the way that our season ended. I was the JV coach at Lewiston High School and varsity assistant, and how much it was poured into everything we did, and to lose in overtime and come into the locker room and see this like tragic team heartbreak was like one of those harsh reminders of this game can take two. And
Yes.
it really requires this like resolve to be able to accept loss within it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you train individuals to structure their goal set in a way that doesn't equate winning with success only, and you instill this ability for kids to see these checkpoints along the way where they can see that growth that's worth it intangibly, that's not a gold ball but is a gold star they can put on their progression through basketball?
Yeah, no, I've never been asked that question before, and you've kind of just made a realization in me. I think I might struggle with that because everything from when I was younger to now, I've kind of always accomplished the goal that I set out for. So you're right. Probably in my eyes, I have this not filtered, but maybe skewed view that basketball does always give back to you because it has. I've always accomplished the goal that I set out for, as crazy as that sounds. And I'm sure there are people out there that they poured just as much as I did, and they came up short, or it didn't work out for them in the end, or things did happen. And, that's something that I can continue to work on and get better as a trainer right there, where, I can help not have this one size fits all approach, but help players understand that everyone's in a different space and a different process. And that the beauty is in, I think, the struggle in the process. And that's what makes basketball so real to me, is basketball can be so different. It's the same game, but it can be so different for every person. For me, I think it's starting at having a passion and a fire. I think it's setting realistic goals. And then I think it's working your ass off, excuse my language, every single day and having no regrets. I think if we're being completely honest, most people, they don't really give 100% to the game. If we're being completely fair and honest to the game of basketball, I know this is going to sound one-sided still, because I'm coming from a place where I've accomplished these goals, but I can honestly look back and say that I have always given 100%. I've never looked back with regrets and saying I could have done more. I missed that week of workouts. Man, I was inconsistent. No, it was, I'm a 5'9" unathletic guard. I have no recruitments out of, I had no one recruiting me out of high school. And so at that point I could say, yeah, basketball is not working out for me. Like, and you're talking about somewhere where I gave 5-6 hours every day in the off season. Gilbert Arenas, I read when he was in the NBA, he shot 100,000 makes that summer in the NBA. I read that article and I said, I'm going to do 200,000 makes. And then I still came back the next year, my senior year, shooting 20-something% from the 3-point line, not getting any offers. I mean, I could look back and I could look at that and say, man, basketball didn't do anything for me. It's hating. It's not giving me what I want, or it's taking. But then I think there was a second side of me that said, can I do more? Can I do more? If I'm not getting what I want out of this sport, is there somewhere where I could do more? And I did. I always pushed the envelope. I always gave more. I always read more books. I always put in more time. I always got smarter on what I needed to work on. And so I think that's the approach that I've always had. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's always potentially going to work out for you. But I think let me say, from a player standpoint, from a coach's standpoint, I think there's different stuff where, you need time. You probably got to build a culture. You can't just walk in and it be miracle season and you go take a team from 15, 14 to 14-0. I think something like that might take a little bit more time, might take structure, you got to have the right kids. I mean, you're talking about, from a coaching standpoint, you're probably getting some kids that this is a social thing to them. It's not a passion. It's not, you got a whole team of, Westbrooks that they're just love this game and they'll die for it. I'm coming from just a player standpoint, but from a coach's standpoint, I'm sure it's it's hard because there are some things that I guarantee are out of your hands. You can't do anything about it. There's, you're making the practices and you're doing all of that you can. And then at the end of the day, you're not playing in the game. It's the kids. And so it's tough. I think from that standpoint, this is such a long answer, so I apologize. But I think from a trainer standpoint, I think what I would continue to do is just get better at being a leader, understanding how to communicate, understanding that some players are everyone's driven from their own personal desires. And I realized when I was a senior in high school, our high school actually won the first state championship ever in history. What I realized that I did now looking back was I motivated each individual from their own desires. Some wanted the glory and they wanted to be recognized, and some just wanted to feel like they were a part of something bigger than themselves in a team. And so I think from maybe as a coach or as a trainer now, I try to help players look at realistic goals, have that passion, because if you don't have passion when you come in to work with me, it's not going to last. I'm too crazy. I'm too psychotic. I'm too obsessive over this game. But it's craving improvement. It's having realistic goals, having check marks, like you said, to know that, hey, are we doing because you don't just get into a car and just drive to a random destination for vacation. You have something set, you reverse engineer. This is the flight we're getting on. This is where our hotel is. I think it's the same thing with goals. You got to have check marks. You got to have realistic checkpoints of that. And then I think from a trainer coach standpoint, it's how do I get the most out of each kid? What are they motivated by? How can I improve where they want to grow? And then I think it's just continuing to learn, never get satisfied as a coach or trainer, always learn. So I'm sorry for that huge, long spiel, but that was an incredible question.
This is what it's all about, Ben. It's about kind of seeing where conversations around this game can take you. And
yeah,
I really appreciate that long answer. One of the things that you hit on in it was this idea of different people with different goals and different roles on the same team.
Yeah. Yes.
The importance of being able to create this structure around individuals being able to accomplish individual goals for the benefit of the team, and the team being able to accomplish team goals by the development and work of the individual.
Right.
To contribute to that team, get better, improve yourself, find your role, establish it, and see the limits of it. But also, how do those roles come together?
Yeah.
And it's something that is always either in the front or the back of my mind when I'm coaching is like, okay, this is happening, but where does it fit in? And what is he doing, but also what are we doing, type of thing. And it's really a great part of the gift of basketball is the challenge that it always presents. There's always obstacles in the way.
Always.
Whether it's you as an individual trying to get better, but your left hand still won't work the way you want it to, despite the 10 hours you put in the last 2 weeks. Or it's, okay, everyone's committed, but we're not committed to being in the grind. We're showing up, but we're not putting in everything we can. So how do you identify challenges and how do you prepare people to be ready to overcome them? And it's really great to see this sort of blossoming in Maine, I truly believe, of giving kids opportunities to put in that work individually, and then giving kids opportunities to put in that work as a group together with their teammates or with the other 29 best players in the state this year, like your top 30 invite. That's where you get to see real obstacles, and you get to see how people overcome those real obstacles by putting them in these tough positions. Did you last year, what were the things that you got out of this top 30 that you really feel like was the payoff? Like, this is worth it. Let's do this again and again.
I think the feedback was an overall hunger to improve. I think I think players in Maine, most of them, I don't think they understand, and this is out of love, I'm saying this, how behind they are from a skill standpoint. And, having someone like, I don't know if you've ever heard of him or met him, but Tyler Ralph, he's out in Dallas, Texas. He's an NBA trainer. He's one of the top trainers in the world. He came in and basically told the boys, you wouldn't even like scratch the surface of the players in Texas. And as brutal as that sounds, it might have some realization to it that we're just a little behind up here. And there's so much going on right now, so much going on to improve Maine basketball. But I think hearing stuff like that, it lit a fire in some of those boys. And then there's so many other people in their lives, parents and coaches and AAU programs and other people that are pushing them. But I think that's what I saw. And then on the other side, the weekend of the girls, he comes in and he says, you guys are right there. You're just as good as all the other girls around the country. And then them hearing that, it's like, oh, wow. Because I do think I predominantly work with girls, and it just happens like that. I haven't planned it. I don't shoot out for it.
Sure.
But I think what a lot of, and maybe it's not like this, but it's just kind of what I've seen 4 or 5 years ago when I first started. Girls are getting offers and scholarships 6 times of what boys are getting in this state. And they're kind of not really like they're not put up on a pedestal like that. Like, people need to understand we got a lot of talent from the girl side in this state. And they can match and mix with anyone, anywhere.
Yeah.
And, there's so many other things that involve with that. But, them hearing that, they're like, all right, like we're right there. And so I think it gave them a different type of motivation to continue and, try to improve and try to reach out to their trainers, their coaches, and, up their game. So I think that was the biggest thing that I saw, was just a takeaway of motivation in different ways from each side.
Sure. And there's something about this established, almost colossal basketball figure showing up and imparting knowledge onto these kids that it's so cool about basketball too. Some of the times that I remember being the most captivated in my life is hearing some old hat who's been there and done that in basketball come and talk to all of us at a camp or at a lecture, where you get to have this almost this example of the essence of the game in the figure of some NBA trainer or Maine Red Claws basketball coach, or a personal basketball trainer who's established. I'm sure you've had a bunch of opportunities to look at 50 sets of eyes who are singularly focused on what it is that you have to say and show them. Yeah. And it's really cool to bring people together and share that knowledge. Yeah. I'm hoping that this is a type of conversation that we can continue here down the road, Ben. Yeah. And I, for one, I'm really inspired by what you're doing. I one of the main reasons why I reached out to you is because I see you as this exemplar of ways that we can continue this process of sharing the game and expanding. Thank you, and you're welcome. For anybody who ends up watching this, please check out teertrainingacademy.com. Ben can be found on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You on all 3? Yeah. The website's actually, because I just redid it, updated it. It's teerbasketballtraining.com. Yeah, that's my bad. No, you're good. I literally just updated it. So it's a brand new website. Teer Training Academy? I think maybe you're thinking of my online stuff, because that's Teer Training Online. Got it. But so complete butchering of the ending here. No, you're good. You're good. There's several different websites out there that I use, so it's easy to get confused. Okay. Well, when I upload this, I'll make sure in the comment section I get it right. No, that's perfect. Yeah. Once again, Ben, really appreciate you taking the time here today. Carve out a little conversation around not just basketball. Right. Yeah, and I feel like it's going to be a part of this continued collaboration and communication that will help us see the way through this and help show it to others. So, I hope, yeah. And anything you need, anything that we can do in the future, or
that we can push Maine basketball on, just please let me know and we'll make it happen.
Absolutely. Will do. Thanks again. Signing off, Nick Beauchesne here with Ben Teer. Thanks for listening.